long as the person wanting to fix it up brings it all up to code, then you can then rehab that structure. So if something's only worth $30,000, before you could only put 15,000 into it before it kind of needed to go away. Now, if you want to put 100,000 into it, if that brings it up to energy code and windows and insulation and all that sort of thing, structurally, it's good, you take care of termites, all of that, then you could potentially do that. So that is what is before you today. It's actually in two different sections. The IBC, the International Building Code, and the IRC, the International Residential Code, has the same wording in it. If there are any questions.
So basically, it's taking off that cap then, that, for example, that $30,000 cap.
Whatever it's worth, yeah. And so you'll see in there that as long as they're brought up to all the standard codes, and also it was asked to put a time frame on that also, that if by the date of the permit is issued within 2 years, or if it's yellow or red tagged within 2 years, it needs to be brought up, because the neighborhoods didn't necessarily want somebody to come in and say, yep, I'm gonna fix that up, and it's 10 years later, and it's still deteriorating, so that's why the time frame.
Okay, thank you.
I'm personally for this. Out at Andy's Lake, we had an A-frame that was very dilapidated, and it was, the value was maybe $40,000, and it was definitely an eyesore. To bring it up to code, my daughter actually bought it, and to bring it up to code, I think she probably put double that into it, and now it looks amazing. So I was glad she invested into it, because it made her like look a lot better than it did. So.
Well, and just to clarify a little bit, this is for the building code. If there is something that is non-conforming by zoning, that still has the 50% rule to it. So if you have a residential property in industrial, say, or commercial or something like that, that 50% rule still applies. This does not take care of that. This
Doesn't supersede anything.
correct, yes.
Anyone else from the public would like to speak on this amendment of the code? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing and open for discussion.
I'll make a motion to recommend amend section 618 and 6162 of the official city code to allow an owner to restore a building or a structure for which the cost of repairs equals or exceeds 50% of the market value of the structure if certain minimum code standards are met.
Second.
We have a motion and a second.
White,
Yes.
Sock,
Yes.
Bryant,
Yes.
Hupkey, Franklin,
Yes.
Griffith,
Yes.
Mason,
Yes.
Ronville.
Yes.
All commission members voting in the affirmative, motion carries.
I will open up the public hearing on the recommendation to amend section 23-1 of the official city code to include definitions related to condominiums, and to enact chapter 23, article 2, division 3 of the official city code to address condominium plats. Val?
All right, so here's another amendment to code. Again, this was asked of us, and it had been coming up the last maybe year or two. Condos were probably big in the 60s, 70s, and they kind of fell out of favor. And so we didn't really have anything in our platting code that addresses how to put a condominium plat together. There is state statute, and a lot of it references that. But so does like regular platting a subdivision. And so we put this in place to give us some definitions so people don't always have to go back and find state statute, because it's pretty much, what is it, 92 sections of state statute goes for like condominiums and how to do them. So this at least kind of gives a summary of what is a condo, what is the declaration that goes with it, and then as you follow down, then it gets into kind of, just like all our other subdivision plats, what do you want to see on the plat? Dimensions, street names, and addresses, and that sort of thing. And so that is what is before you today, is essentially putting the option into our code for somebody to do a condo. Is there any questions?
All the extras here, I mean, are they kind of similar to, just, I mean, whether it's a regular house or something like that then? Like a design, easement, plat, improvements, that kind of thing? Or are these special to condominiums?
Some of them are the same and some of them are special to condos. So it was kind of a combination of taking what we see on a regular plat with, you know, encroachments, easements, boundaries, that sort of thing. But then it gets into what is common space, what is the actual unit, what is that unit named and addressed as. So there's those little things like that that are specific to condos in here.
Okay.
Anyone in the public like to speak further on this consideration? Seeing none, I'll close that public hearing and open it up to any further discussion. Essentially just a, formality for our code.
Yeah. Something I'm surprised wasn't in place before.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So, okay. I'll make a motion to amend section 23(1) of the official city code to include definitions related to condominiums, to enact chapter 23, article 2, division 3 of the official city code to address condominium plats.
Second?
We have a motion and a second.
Wait,
Yes.
Stock,
Yes.
Bryant,
Yes.
Hupkey,
Yes.
Franklin,
Yes.
Griffith,
Yes.
Mason,
Yes.
Ronfeld.
Yes.
All commission members voting in the affirmative, motion carries.
I will open up the public hearing at the request of Liberty Center Services, Inc. to consider a zoning change from R2 to R3 on property address as 205 South Chestnut. Is there anyone here that would like to speak on that? If I could have you sign in also, please.
Yep.
Thanks.
My name's Chad Carter. I'm here representing the Liberty Center. The parcel in question is owned by them. The zoning is R3 above, and actually the first top 10-15% of that lot is actually R3. It's not a clear line through the parcel above or below. We're looking at putting in single one-bedroom apartments on slab. But yeah, looking at 16 to 18 units. But with the zone R2, it doesn't, we needed the zone change to R3 to put in it'd be a single structure.
So you're looking at like row housing or the individuals?
No, it would be one build. It would be probably like a C shape on the east half of the property. All one bed, one bath, 650 square foot units.
As far as parking goes, is there any concern with that? Are you gonna have a parking lot there? or-
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, there'll be at least 2 stalls for every apartment.
Okay.
Would it be 1 story or 2?
1.
Is there any concerns with that street? What street is that?
Domar.
Dolmar? Is there any concerns with that? Or just kind of, it leaves that dead-end street just,
Are you gonna access Domar with your parking lot?
Correct. Yeah, but you could come in from the south and go in, and then eventually it may even tie in, come over to Chestnut. But yeah, right now, the concrete just ends right into the empty lot.
so the only entry at that point would be Domar?
Is Domar right now, correct?
Okay.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but all that's before us this morning is a zone change.
Oh,
Correct.
thank you, Martin.
There's no, Val, there's no plat that's been submitted for this, correct? Has there been a plat with the zone change?
No, there's no plat, and if he just puts one building on one lot, there won't be a plat.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was just gonna point out that if there was, apartments or, residents, multi-residents there, you would need to look at, the turnaround space for, as far as, emergency vehicles, fire trucks and things like that, to make sure they have access to get in and out. So, once you get to the, the plat or the building permit stage, you'd want to come talk with engineering and walk through that process. Another thing to note is just the proximity to the levee and the flood control. There's certain requirements that go along with that as well, as far as digging over there. So.
Any other questions for Chad? Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else like to speak on behalf of this consideration? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. Open it up to any further discussion.
I think it makes sense with R3 kind of on both sides there. It fits to the area, in my opinion.
That looks to be pretty much more of the same of what is at the north property of Liberty Center.
Would take a motion.
Make a motion to approve a zoning change from R2, 1 and 2 family residential, to R3, multiple family residential, on property addressed as 205 South Chestnut Street.
Second that motion.
We have a motion and a second?
Wait,
Yes.
Stock,
Yes.
Bryant. Yes. Hupkey.
Yes.
Franklin.
Yes.
Griffith.
Yes.
Mason.
Yes.
Ronfeld.
Yes.
All commission members voting in the affirmative, motion carries.
I will open up the public hearing at the request of the Greater Norfolk Economic Development Foundation to consider a zoning change from C3 to C2 on property addressed as 105 East Norfolk Avenue. Anyone out there would like to speak on behalf of this consideration?
Good morning. My name is Seth Lange with Olson. We are working with the developer on providing documentation for the C3 to, or zone change that you guys have in front of you today. What we're looking at is the existing property is zoned as a C3 zoning, and we're looking at change it to C2 zoning with central business district, downtown business district, and more or less continuing that development, downtown development down to this property here. If there's any additional questions. let me know.
What's the specific request for, from C3 to C2? What does that involve?
The C2, basically, it's just, it's changing it to C2, which allows for, setbacks to be different, and a few other items of that, so. Whereas C3, there's a few more restrictive setbacks. It does butt up to C2 property, or is adjacent to C2 property.
Is that what the downtown is generally?
Yeah, so C2 is this lighter tone across West to First Street. And so that is what mainly Norfolk Avenue from probably First to, I think, Seventh is. And some of the, I'll just kind of fill in some of those things from C3 to C2 that you get, like you said, setback. There really are no setbacks in C2 versus C3. And one of the main ones is you can't automatically have residential in C3. You'd have to have a watchman's cup. That's the only way you can have residential, whereas C2 automatically permits retail on the first floor and residential on the second.
Is there a difference with I see the lines, is that something different compared to ones without?
The lines that signify C3.
No, the lines
the-
are the riverfront overlay district, so
Got it.
before they can get a building permit, they have to go through the riverfront overlay aesthetic review board to look at materials and landscaping and that sort of thing.
Got it.
Any other questions for Seth? Thanks, Seth. Anyone else like to speak at this public hearing? Seeing none, I'll close that public hearing and open it up for discussion. This is just one of a few steps for the essentially the development to
Yeah.
continue.
Well, like, to your comment, Jill, I mean, it does allow for that, the residential on top and commercial on the bottom, so that does go with the rest of downtown, so. I'll make a motion to recommend a zoning change from C3 Service Commercial District to C2 Central Commercial District on property addressed as 105 East Norfolk Avenue.
Second. We have a motion and a second.
Wait,
Yes.
Asok,
Yes.
Bryant,
Yes.
Hupkey,
Yes.
Franklin,
Yes.
Griffith,
Yes.
Mason, Ronfeld.
Yes.
All commission members voting in the affirmative, motion carries.
I will open up another public hearing at the request of the Greater Norfolk Economic Development Foundation for a preliminary plan development on property addresses 105 East Norfolk Avenue. Welcome back.
Hey, I'll probably just stay up here. This is for the plan development, part of the plan development and changing it from C3 to C2. We have two properties on the north that are actually townhome, multifamily housing, which requires, or which would have that first floor housing element to it. What we are requesting is a variance, which is part of the PD. That PD is basically proposing to allow for first floor residence. And then the other part of the PD would be to allow for multiple buildings on a C2 lot, which a C2 zoning does not allow for, or allows for just one building, if I'm correct, right, Val?
Yeah, that's kind of across the board in zoning districts, that it's pretty much one primary building per lot, yeah.
Any questions for Seth?
You feel like parking's sufficient that you have there?
We're working to try to get as many spots as possible, so Yeah. Okay.
And there's no restrictions as far as,
Yeah, C2 doesn't have any restrictions as
Oh,
far as
okay,
parking,
okay.
but obviously there's gonna be retail,
Yeah.
housing and so forth like
Yeah.
there, so trying to get as many spots in there as possibly as
Yeah.
you can. That's
That's why I just
efficient.
wanted to make sure.
Yep.
any further questions? Thanks, Seth. This is still a public hearing, if anyone else would like to speak on behalf of this consideration. Seeing none, I'll close that public hearing. Open it up for further discussion.
I'd say it's good to get a better look at this and what their plan is for it, as far as it goes. Good to hear about parking, trying to get as many as there can be. Last thing you want it is to be congested. Those are my thoughts on it.
I believe their anticipation is that they would have daytime commercial parking, evening residential parking there, so they'd have like a turnover.
Yep.
And this is, one of the specifics of this is the variance for the multifamily on that north side.
Right, one of the variances, correct, are the 2 townhomes on the north side because no commercial district really allows residential on the first floor. It's always, if it's allowed, it's always on the second floor. So that's why the variance.
Let's see. I'll make a motion to recommend a preliminary plan development on property addressed as 105 East Norfolk Avenue.
We have a motion and a second?
White,
Yes.
Sock,
Yes.
Bryant,
Yes.
Hupkey,
Yes.
Franklin,
Yes.
Griffith,
Yes.
Mason,
Yes.
Ronfeld.
Yes.
All commission members voting in the affirmative, motion carries.
Consideration of the recommendation of the final plot of the Union at River Point subdivision. You should have just stayed up here.
Yeah, this should be the last time. So this would be the final plat for the aforementioned property that we're looking at here. Basically, we're splitting it from 1 lot into 2 lots, allowing us to start building on the south side prior to having to tear down on the north. So.
No concerns with easements or anything like that? Well,
I don't think so. Anna, do you
No,
have any?
go ahead, Anna. I was gonna say, we've coordinated with, pretty much all the utility companies. They've came back and, the only requirement I think that they were showing was that we have to have a 10-foot utility easement with NPPD on the west side, I think it was. So, that's it.
Right, it looks like you guys have the existing utility easement along the north and east side where our sanitary sewer runs. And then I guess the only other question I would have on that is in the middle, where you guys are splitting the 2 lots, whether or not there should be any kind of utility easement there, or how you're gonna get your utilities in to all of the buildings, if there was gonna need to be a specific easement to get to those buildings.
Possibly. The only other item that we probably would have to look at is, since it would be it can be considered a service going into the building. So is it monitored through kind of a utility closet for all all structures at one time, so that'd just be one service going in, which shouldn't necessarily need an easement, I don't
Right.
believe.
Right.
But, yeah, well,
And then, I'm assuming that the line dividing the two lots is because of the way the buildings are proposed to be laid out?
correct.
Is kind of why that's,
Yep.
okay.
Will this property continue to use the existing ingress and egress?
Yes, for the most part, yeah. It may get shifted a little bit. There's two on the south side. The one that is shared with Dollar General, that will probably stay. The one that's just to the west may shift a little bit east or west, but in general, yes. And then the one on the First Street will be utilized, yes.
There's no, you can't turn left out of the west side of that entrance, can you?
No.
It since the roundabout.
Right in,
came
right out, yeah.
Okay.
Right in, right out, yep.
That'll at least speed up traffic at least, so.
And you can always just go around the roundabout if you wanna go south.
I enjoy driving in circles.
Yeah.
Every time I drop my daughter off at gymnastics, it's. Any other questions for Seth? Thank you for the last time. There's no other discussion. I would take a motion.
Make a motion to, recommend the final plat of Union at River Point subdivision. Second.
We have a motion and a second.
Wait,
Yes.
Suck, Bryant,
Yes.
Hupkey,
Yes.
Franklin,
Yes.
Cuby, Griffith.
Yes.
Mason.
Yes.
Ronfeld.
Yes.
All commission members voting in the affirmative, motion carries.
Thank you. Any other open topics or concerns? Seeing none, I'd take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Don't even need it.